Today's daf, Lamed Zayin with Beis, Vatam. Today is Beis Adar, and we're doing Vatam. It's last blot and 2/3, blot and a half of the Pedic, almost and a half of the Pedic. Vatam. In the earlier part of this Pedic, we spoke about Musar. Why is the person giving himself Musar? Because he has Timtum. Now, isn't Chassidus against Musar? Of course Chassidus is against Musar. But this is what we call a last resort. When all else fails, beat up on yourself. When the eights of Simcha, when the eights of Simcha Achara Otzev, when the eights of Mekabels on Yisurim Bi'ava, when the eights of setting aside a time for tshuva, when the eights of don't be a balgaiva and do iskafia, when the eights of when you fight hard, it's harder fights harder, when the eights of begging for racham all fail, you have no choice but to beat up on yourself. In other words, give yourself musar, do tshuva. For what? For Avedis. If you don't have Avedis, beat up on yourself for the mere fact that you exist. And specifically, he gave us 3 examples. Chatas Nurim, Avedis you already could repented for. Mara the Chushben, it's not Avedis. It's non-mitzvahs that you may have done. And Chalei Mishav is not even non-mitzvahs, it's simply that you could have worked harder. And then the neshama would have been able to lamayla sheves lachayim. The fact that you had a foolish dream is a simon that the neshama was not able in Gan Eden, that the klippas come and make fun of you. So you have tshuva, edel, edeler, and even more edel. Tshuva for aveiz have already done. Tshuva for non-mitzvahs, and tshuva for not working as hard as you possibly could have worked. And then the Alter Rebbe says, beat up on yourself and lay it on heavy, and don't worry about the fact that you're beating yourself up. And then he says, top of the page begins, it's going to be very successful. How successful is it going to be? 2 minutes ago you were in a state of timtum, you were psychologically and spiritually flat, you were congested spiritually, there's no movement. And now you're going to have a riyah chushis. The Alter Rebbe promises you, in effect, that you're going to leap from this state of timtum into a state of clarity, like as if you see Hashem. And I believe I told you yesterday that we're going to have, in the next few prakim, 4 forms for the feeling of the neshama. What does the neshama feel like? Number 1, it has clarity about the Eibush, like as if it sees. Number 2, it has simcha. Number 3, it has avas yisrael, that's Perek Lamed Beis. And number 3, it has amunah, which is Perek Lamed Gimel, which you'll see each one be inyani. But the nekuda is that Alter Rebbe is now going to explore the inyan of Poshet being Megala, the godly power. We're dealing with guys, ba'atzvus, you beat up on yourself, that all of a sudden you'll wake up from the timtum, you'll break it, leiv nishbar, ruach nishbara, you'll break the sitra achar hold on you, and you'll have clarity, because if it's Eibush. How could Alter Rebbe be so strong, so sure? How could Alter Rebbe be so sure? A guy is so depressed. Tell him, beat up on yourself, and boom, you're going to have clarity. Maybe not. Maybe you'll be a little bit less depressed. You'll want to eat cake instead of ice cream, or whatever it is, whole wheat instead of fattening. How is he so sure you're going to have clarity? The Alter Rebbe is like a Valdika word. And the whole rest of the Pedic is going to make this word. And I want to say to you, 2 nekudas. In other words, I'm going to be marchev asadi, but I want to add 2 nekudas. There's 2 nekudas that are negeh for us to know right now. Nekuda number 1 is, godliness is revealed unless hidden. Not godliness is hidden unless revealed. It's not the pshat, you cannot see God unless you expose Him. Hashem is here for us to see. Klip is blocking the truth. It's called hest upon Him. And bli hest upon Him, Malakus is revealed. The natural condition of reality is Hashem is revealed. Can't see Him, klipa. Break the klipa, the natural condition of stuff is hest upon Him. It's Gili Elikus, which we already had in the Chav Gimel. Then is the second chiddush. The second chiddush is the one we're going to have right now. Klipa is a lie. The opposition to Kedusha is not equal and opposite. It's simply a myth. It's a baba mice. It seems real. It only seems real because we believe it. The moment we stop believing, we discover that Klipa was a non-issue in the first place. Combine those 2 nekudas, and this is the rest of the Pedic. How could the Alter Rebbe be so certain that a person who 2 minutes before was in the most severe state of timtum is going to suddenly spring out of it and have a clarity called the Re'iyas Elokuz B'muchash, as though he sees the Eibush Mamish? The answer is, first of all, the reality is Getlachkeit. That's number 1. And number 2, unless that the opposite of Elokuz is not Le'umaz, it's a non-thing. The whole real Ummah has the plausibility of believing it, and when you don't believe it, you see that it was nothing in the first place. Says the Alter Rebbe V'atam, 4 lines in the top of Lamed Zayin on the base. How can I be so sure the Musa will be so effective that you'll have a clarity like you see the Rebbe. Like the Alter Rebbe as follows. Lefisha be'emes, because the truth is, Ein Shum Mamash klal b'sidra achra. There is no substance to klipa whatsoever. U'mamela nidchem b'pnei. It's automatically pushed away by light. You cannot view klipa as the opposite of kedusha. It's simply its absence. V'kacha sidra achra. This is true not only of darkness. It's true of sidra achra. Everybody knows what darkness is. Everybody knows darkness and light never have had a fight. Since the history of mankind, since the history of darkness and light were manifest, light and darkness never fought. Why? Darkness is not the opposite of light. The opposite of light, it's its absence. So the Rebbe says it's true of klipa. Although it doesn't seem that way, it seems to us that klipa is not an absence of light, but a reality. Has so much vitality. Lahach is to give life to call balachayim matmeim, all trefa animals. The nefashos u'mesehelim and the souls of u'mesehelim. V'gam nefesh abhamesh abitrol kanal, even the animal soul of a Jew, which is from klipas neged. Klipas neged is also klipa kanal, we discussed earlier in Perek Vav and Perek Zayir. Meikol mokem tzal treba azoi. You have to split it in half. One half is the reality of klipa, and the other half is the lie of klipa. The reality of klipa is not klipa, it's kedusha. The lie of klipa is the klipa of klipa. On the one hand, that I call whatever truth and vitality exists in klipa is the kedusha canal. It's kedusha. And consequently, he betela, the godliness, the truth of klipa is nullified. Lagamri altogether. Mepnei HaKedusha, in the presence of Kedusha. Kebitel HaCheshech Me'er HaGashmi, like the nullification of darkness in the presence of light. You shine light, klipa becomes ois. Rak. But in addition to the fact that there is some reality to klipa, and that the reality of klipa is really Kedusha, it's Batal Rebishter, there is also the lie of klipa, the propaganda of klipa, the pretense of klipa, the appearance of evil anti-God of klipa. You should know that's nothing except a power of suggestion. That's how I teach it. Klipa, says the Alter Rebbe, half of it is Kedusha, and the half of which is Taka evil is not real. It just makes suggestions. You don't believe Klipa, you see that it's nothing. You believe Klipa, you just created it. And where does it exist? In your imagination. What's the difference between truth and a lie? Truths exist even if nobody knows them. Lies exist only because people believe them. Lies don't have to be broken, they have to be exposed. You expose a lie, you don't have to destroy it. Everybody sees it's nothing. Klipa is a lie with the power to suggest itself to you in a plausible way. It sounds true. When you believe it, you made it real. In the relationship between Klipa and the divine soul of a person, since Hashem gave a man free will, so he has to give man options. So in this scheme, and in this context, and in this framework, Hashem gave Klipa the permission and the power, the possibility, to lift itself up. And the upliftedness of Klipa is absolutely nothing. It's just a pretense. It's a show, it's a spiel, it's an act. Connect against Kedusha. Kedei, so that the right way to act is Sha'adam Yeseder, the man should be aroused, Liz Gabalah, to overpower it, La Shpila, to lower it, and to expose it for what it is, which is nothing. When man is humble and breaks his own spirit, and he's shamed and disgusted in his own eyes. In other words, he's shamed because the nefesh habahamis in his own eyes. So therefore, through the arousal from below, there's an arousal from above that the Eibush finishes what he starts. To fulfill what the pasuk says, God says, I myself personally, I'm going to lower the klipa. Says the Alter Rebbe, I'll tell you what this means. Hashem takes away its dominance and its possibility. And it takes away from her the power and possibility which was given to it. To stand up, and the way I'm translating it is to suggest against the light and the holiness of the divine soul. And then it's automatically nullified and gets pushed away. Just like physical light pushes away darkness without a struggle, without an effort, Kedusha pushes away Klipa without a struggle. It seems real, and it comes to you, and it seems like it's so powerful. It's a keda b'nei einayim. It's not a little twig; it's a keda. It's not a little molehill; it's a mountain. And when you believe it, you've made it real. When you overcome it, you kill it. But what's the pshat killer? You destroy the evil? No. You're fighting against the evil effects that Hashem should take away the sheker of the pretense, the bluff, the appearance of truth, of the klipa. And He brings you now a raya and a hero. It's very geschmack. From now till the end of the Perek, he's bringing a raya to this point, that klipa is not the opposite of kedusha. It's simply the absence of it. And when you have the light of kedusha, klipa vanishes. And the only thing klipa can do is make a suggestion. And if it becomes real, it's because you believed it. He's going to give us a raya from the Meraglim, and then it's going to be in the end of the Perek, a gavaldik hero. The next is the raya. We find this explicitly articulated in the story of the Meraglim. What by the Meraglim? They come back and they say, oh no, they said, that the Knan is stronger than God. I'll take your men of a chol. They don't mean stronger than us, they mean stronger than the Eibush Tekvayach. In other words, as Alter Rebbe, this is Pshutei Shal Mikra Chol Mishrashi Shalei Yaminu B'Chel Sadishem. The Meraglim refused to believe in the Eibush's ability to fight Lamed Aleph Malachim. And of course, as Chassidus explained it, they believe that Yiddishkeit cannot prevail in the Gashmistic world. Gashmis is going to kill it. V'yachakach, 5 minutes later, Chazru, they changed their mind. The Amru, they think, no, we're going to go to Eretz Yisrael. I don't understand. 5 minutes ago, they believed that Canaan is stronger than God, and now they're running. From where did it come back? And they acquired faith in the possibility of God. They didn't believe in Hashem's power. Moshe Rabbeinu had not displayed to them any sign or any miracle to prove that Hashem is great enough to conquer Eretz Yisrael. Bein time in the interim in between. The only thing that happened was the Jews say, we can't go over there, God's not strong enough. So Hashem comes to Moshe and says, tell those Yidden, they say I'm not strong enough, they don't want to go to Israel, no problem. They don't have to go, I'll send their children. That's all he said. Willst nicht darf nicht, ich schicke die Kinder. Gar nicht. You don't think I'm strong enough to be a Yid, you should be a Yid? No, stay in the middle, I'll send your kids. What's wrong? They got what they wanted. All of a sudden they're doing tshuva. Rak only Sh'amalem told him Hashem got angry. V'nish ben he vowed not to bring him to Eretz Yisrael. I don't understand. How is telling them that Hashem is upset and that they're going to get what they want, that they don't have to go into Tzil helping them? If they didn't believe in the power of Hashem, God forbid, to conquer 31 kings, they didn't want to go into Tzil in the first place. So all Hashem says is, He's angry, and they're running to Yisrael. The tenet is gewaldig. 2 points. Point number 1, the natural condition of everything is godly. Point number 2, godlessness, anti-God is not a metzius, it's a non-thing. All it does is suggest. Now let's personalize it. The natural condition of a Jew is he believes in Hashem and trusts Him. Yes, fake is. He gets depressed, he gets down, it's a lie. And when you expose the lie, you automatically see it, you believed all along. Jewish people inherently are believers. Listen to my translation. Came along with a provocation, with a suggestion that seemed so real. The light and the holiness of the divine soul. With gaiva, and artificial aloofness, and chutzpah, arrogance, disrespect, because Klipa doesn't believe itself. Klipa knows better than Kedusha. I am a bluff. But it comes along and makes these suggestions, and they're very convincing. Without any reason, without any intelligence. So you know what happened? Jewish people believed the bluff. They bought into Satan Achad's coercion. Therefore, the key word is Hashem got angry. It's the same as the Musa we had in this Perek. And he screamed with a loud and angry voice. How long are these evil congregation going to behave as they're behaving? You'll die in the desert. I have spoken. I will not do this to this evil community, and so forth. All they knew was God got angry. Not when God got angry, they got shaken up. The natural condition of the Yiddish, which he's a believer, emerged. The bluff of Klippa was exposed as being nothing other than smoke and mirrors. And automatically they're running into Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, when they heard these hard words, their heart was bent and broken. Bekirvim inside of themselves, because as the Pasuk describes it as V'yisabalu ha'am ma'ed, people became very sad. Which is what the message of this Pedic is, which is Musar. Automatically, Klippa fell from its dominance and from its aloofness and from its conceit. Says the Alter Rebbe, then you don't have to give a Jew faith. The Jew returns, and the Jewish people themselves believe. So when you take away the darkness, the light shines. You don't have to give a Jew faith. Take away the absolute. Take away the depression. Take away the sheker. And one of the ways of taking away the sheker is a good bop on the head, a good mus. There's the Raya from the Menagel. And now comes the hero, Gvaldik hero. Umizeh yachal kaladam, yachal lil mid kaladam. This is a lesson for every person. That Shanei maybe machshavt is fakes alamun. The person, God forbid, gets fakes about amunah. Darf man wissen azoi. If know the following. Came divrei ruach asidrachar alavada. It's words of Klippa alone. Hamakbiya atzmal nafshe, which simply has the power of making a suggestion. If you don't believe it, you'll see it's nothing. If you believe it, you made it real, not it's real. Aval Yisrael atzman, but what is the Jew inherently? Hey maminim v'chol Jewish people believe in the descendants of believers, and therefore it's no big deal to fight Klippa. Just say I don't believe you, and Klippa vanishes. Ki yadua sipa mit neilik and Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov was a child. He walked into the forest. He was never afraid to go by himself into the forest. And he suddenly came across a palace. And he was a big paladin because he had been in that part of the forest before. He never saw the palace. A huge palace full of high Meshayidin. Mit payas, mit bed, zayafrim. And when he came into this palace, they greeted him b'simcha tzuma, and they brought him in Yingel Kumarayin, and they were makabel ponav, and they learned Teda with him, and they waited. Until he came to the premise of the palace. And he met the Zokan, the elder in the palace. And the elder said to him, Yingele Zog, Ozav Hashem es Aretz. Little boy, say Hashem has abandoned the land. Upon this was a keich of Klippa that Pashat manifested in the Gashmizdika world to get the Baal Shem Tov to acknowledge Shnias, the opposite of Achdus, as a child, and the Baal Shem Tov would be Rachman al-Itzlan preempted before he could even become the Baal Shem. He was 5-6 years old, maybe younger. So the Baal Shem Tov shouted, Yispardu kopeli of it. All doers of evil should vanish. And you know what happened? He found himself in the middle of the forest. The palace was gone, the people were gone. Finished Kimitzias. And Yisrael, Mamina b'nei Mamina. Says the Alter Rebbe, and that's not the end of the story. The Gam, moreover, not only is Klippa, either Klippa is Kedushas Chayas, or it's a power of suggestion and other reality whatsoever. But whatever reality there is to this power of suggestion of Klippa, Klippa is praying you'll break it. The Klippa itself, in other words, even the evil of the Klippa, has no doubts in Amun. It was given permission and empowered to confuse a man with words that are false and deceptive, only for one reason: to increase the Yitzchak. And the Yitzchak is wishing we will not listen to him. Like the pituyim, like the seductions of the Zaina to the son of the king, b'sheker u'mirma, with lies and deceptiveness, b'rishus with the king's permission. Isaiah says that when the father has a son who's the crown prince, we had exactly the same mashal, the last line of Pedic Tes. Now we have the last line of Pedic Chavtes. Yeah, that the king's son is going to be the next king, and he sees that he's a weak boy. He has to fortify him, so he gives him these bad friends. And the king's son has to fight with them, and he becomes a man. The worst thing that could happen to the whole kingdom is that he should fall into the trap of these bad people, because then the whole nation is doomed. So the Zaina herself is wishing and hoping and praying that he won't listen. So first of all, Klippa is Kedusha. Second of all, Klippa is nothing other than a power of suggestion. Third of all, when you break Klippa, you don't have to give yourself back faith, it's inherent within a Jew. And fourth of all, the Klippa hopes you won't listen. Klippa hopes you won't listen. They want you to sin because that's their job. Lahar be'eschorem, that you shouldn't listen to them.